Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again to Queen Amadai TV presents Beyond the Realm. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. And if you have not been receiving your notifications, please double check to make sure that you are still subscribed to the channel. Don't forget to follow the Queen on Instagram at QueenAshakur, also on Instagram at divine_goddess_27, on Twitter at dgoddess27, Brighton and Patreon at Queen Amadai Okay, hello Mark. Hello, Ryan, Terry, Millie, Baby Doll, Melanated Brown, SMCM, Brother Sly is Black, Iyama At Bay, Ryan, okay, General Louverture, Howard, Monica Matthews, all right, Misfits, Iyama At Bay. I'm sorry to keep you lovely people waiting, okay? All right, so let's get into it. We're going to talk about this haunted place. Now, it is clearly one of the most haunted places in the United States, but some people say that it is, in fact, one of the most haunted places in the world. Okay? The Waverly Hills Sanatorium. So let's talk about it. Now, yes, after dark is real scary. I know, right? Oh, we're going to be doing some after dark this weekend. Okay? I love this channel. As a kid, they never called my ethnic name on Romper Room. Okay, so let's, General Overture said, I'm scared to death. Cut it out. Okay, so let's get into it, people. Now, I have a PowerPoint for you all because I want to show you all some of the pictures of Waverly. And then I'm going to show you a news clip, right, where they were discussing it. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Everyone, please get the likes up. Please like and share. Okay. Thank you in advance. All right. Haunted Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Okay, now this is a picture of it, as you can see. It looks quite spooky. Now, so let me just tell you a little bit about the history of it. Waverly Hills Sanatorium sits on land that was originally purchased by Major Thomas H. Hayes in 1883. Now, Major Hayes was in need of a school for his daughters to attend, so he started a one-room schoolhouse that was located on Pages Lane. And then he hired a woman named Lizzie Lee Harris to teach at the school. Her love for the tiny school, in addition to her fondness for Scott's Waverly novels, prompted her to name the little schoolhouse Waverly School. Now, Major Hayes liked that name and chose to name his property Waverly Hill. The Board of Tuberculosis Hospital kept the name after purchasing the land and opening the sanatorium. Now, originally, Waverly Hills Sanatorium was a two-story frame building with a hipped roof and half timbering. Construction on this building began in 1908 and opened for business on July the 26th of 1910. Now, you can see this hallway right here. Inside the building, it looks very spooky if you ask me. If you look down this long, dark, ghostly looking hallway. Now, the building was designed to accommodate 40 to 50 tuberculosis patients safely. And at the time, tuberculosis was a very serious disease. People were afflicted with tuberculosis. They were isolated from the general public and placed in an area where they could rest, stay calm, and have plenty of fresh air. Sanatoriums were built on high hills surrounded by peaceful woods to create a serene atmosphere to help the patients to recover. Now, tuberculosis was becoming an epidemic in Valley Station. I used to live in Valley Station. You know, I was raised in Kentucky, though I wasn't born there, but I was in fact raised and went to high school in Louisville, Kentucky. And I actually lived in Valley Station, which is not far from Fort Knox. So anyway, tuberculosis was becoming an epidemic in Valley Station, Pleasure Ridge Park, and other parts of Jefferson County in Kentucky. The little TB clinic was filled with more than 140 people, and it was obvious that a much larger hospital was needed to treat those afflicted with the condition. Because remember, when they built it, or when they took over the land, they actually had it only enough room for 40 to 50 patients comfortably. And then now all of a sudden they have 140 people. So they say it was obvious that a much larger hospital was needed to treat those afflicted with the condition. Because tuberculosis was so extremely contagious and at epidemic proportions, those living within it or living with it could not be allowed to live and exist among the general population. It was not known at the time that tuberculosis was an airborne disease. Now, Waverly Hills was a self-contained community, a city and of itself, complete with its own zip code. It had its own post office, water treatment facility, grew its own fruits and vegetables, raised its own meat for slaughter, and maintained many of the other necessities of everyday life. Everyone at Waverly, patients, nurses, doctors, and other employees, had to say goodbye to everything they knew on the outside world. Once you went to Waverly Hills, you became a permanent resident on the hill. Oddly enough, despite that fact, many patients received visits from loved ones on visiting day. When the visit was over, the visitors left Waverly and ventured back out into the community. Now, the massive collegiate Gothic style sanatorium that was shown in 1926 remains standing on Waverly Hill to this day. It could accommodate at least 400 plus patients and be considered one of the most modern and well-equipped facilities at that time. Now, construction of the sanatorium began March 1924 and opened for business in 1926. The facility served as a tuberculosis hospital. Okay, we've already gone through that. But just to let you know that even until the 1960s, up until 1960 or in 1962, the building reopened as Woodhaven Medical Center for geriatric. It was a geriatric facility for elderly patients to come there after it stopped being, used for tuberculosis, right? Now, it served as a tuberculosis hospital until 1961. So from 1924, when it opened for business, until 1961. And then that's when the discovery of an antibiotic that successfully treated and cured TB rendered the facility obsolete. And it was closed down and quarantined. And then later it was renovated. And in 1962, the building reopened. And that's when they made it into Woodhaven Medical Service geriatric facility. Woodhaven was closed by the state in the 1980s. Now, what's the scariest part about Waverly, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium? Well, there have been quite a few curious people of curious nature who have come there, and they've claimed that they've heard voices, they've seen shadows, there's been doors closing and all sorts of things, which have been intriguing and made an evening interesting. However, there's one location that now this is a person who's been there. This is their accounts of their visit. He says there's one location that got my heart racing with a series of events, and all at the same visit. Now, the Waverly Sanatorium is a tall monolithic structure perched on the hillside of southwestern Louisville, Kentucky. And now this is basically him giving his depiction of it. And then later he'll talk about what he experienced there. Now he says in the early 1900s, Jefferson County experienced a tragic outbreak of tuberculosis known then as the White Plague, resulting in a 2-story hospital built to house these patients. And it was far away from downtown Louisville. Now, in 1910, the building eventually grew too small to house all of the patients needing beds, Construction of additional buildings and added stories to the hospital culminated in 1926. The hospital closed in 1961. Nonetheless, it didn't end there for the spooky looking building on the hill. No, not yet. And as you can see this picture right here, this clearly looks demonic, right? Do you see this thing, this winged looking demon? This is what they actually have outside. Now, I wouldn't go there just based on that alone. The statue itself looks demonic. Yes, absolutely. Right? A gargoyle. Isn't that what they call these things? A gargoyle? Clearly nefarious. I wouldn't be within 100 feet of it myself. And I remember when I was in high school, there were kids who wanted to go there, you know, and who wanted to sneak off and go there and all that stuff, honey. I was not with it. Never. All right? You couldn't have paid me to go there. Some of them actually went, and they told some pretty interesting stories. Now, fast forward many years to a period when the former sanatorium was deluged by various television ghost teams declaring the place legitimately haunted. You see, some people thought these stories were just, you know, urban legends or just things people were saying, or maybe people imagined things, but they had, you know, a lot of people who actually went there, and they claimed to have had these ghostly encounters, and they had ghost teams going there, you know, like Ghostbusters, you know, going there, paranormal investigators going there just to see for themselves. And a lot of these people claimed that they heard voices, they saw all types of shadows and, you know, images of dead people, you know, who had actually died there, and all sorts of crazy things. Now, afterward followed years of common folk doing their own investigations and heavily endorsing their stamp of approval on social media. Scary stuff there. Now, this guy says, I had to see for myself. So I joined the pack doing an overnight a few years back. The truth hit me like a ton of bricks. This place really was haunted. Now, here's another image of it. On the outside, it looks like the walkway to get from one building to another. Now, he says a team made a trek through the dark first level hallway. A guy was holding up the rear with a shadowy figure walking next to him. Now, imagine this. There's a group of you going there, and you're thinking about staying there overnight just to see if it's really haunted, if this paranormal stuff is really occurring, as people have been saying. And he says the guy coming up the rear had a shadowy figure walking right next to him. He assumed it to be his teammate named Doug. And what little he could make out, he was built like Doug anyway. They had their flashlights off so their eyes would adjust to the dark. They were silent, just listening. Then someone tripped in the group in front of them, and they heard Doug up there laughing and making a comment. The man switched on his lights, and no one was beside him. Now, can you imagine? Now, they're walking in the dark. They turned off their lights so that they don't, so their eyes can adjust. He thinks that his friend Doug is beside him, his teammate. Then someone trips, and he hears Doug in the front of the group laughing. So now he cuts on his flashlight to see, well, who is this beside me? And nobody is there. He says teammates helped him into the morgue locker at my request and left him alone. Says, I listened to their footsteps retreating. It was quiet for a while, and then the small room seemed to come alive. I couldn't see anything but black. Yet outside the locker door, I heard the sounds of shuffling feet and the clatter of things being moved on a metal gurney. They stopped as my team returned to let me out. Now, the tunnel through the hill from the hospital to the roadway, to the road below, and I believe that's the picture we just saw. That was the tunnel that led to the road. Now, he said, the tunnel through the hill from the hospital to the road below was originally the entrance and exit for workers. It also served to deliver supplies. It eventually graduated into the body chute, where the deceased were transported after passing in the hospital. So they had like a tunnel where they would carry the dead bodies of those who, got sick and died there, they called it the body chute. And they would take those people, transport them through this tunnel to where they would put the bodies at. Now, the body chute was where the deceased were transported after passing in the hospital. Standing at the top, even a flashlight beam would not reach the bottom of the tunnel. While shooting a single laser beam to the bottom, it suddenly stopped upon something solid. And that something was making its way up the tunnel right towards us. We could see the vague white outlines of a form. We watched it grow closer until the form disappeared with the laser beam, then shooting down into the darkness. On the 4th floor terrace, I was alone and watching a dark shadow following me from within the inner hallway. It was playing hide and seek. It would, on occasion, peek a dark head around the door frames. Even though the building, once a housing for the sick and dying, now empty, you feel eyes upon you as you stand outside and gaze upward. I expect you will feel that for years to come. Now, the nurse found hanging in room 502. Now, 502 is where the nurses' station was, and one of the nurses hung herself up there. They say that she was pregnant, and it was the fact that she was going to be raising a child by herself that, she decided to take her own life. They say the patients found her body there, and supposedly room 502 is the most active place in Waverly. The people have seen the apparition of a nurse in a uniform hanging from the ceiling. Other people say they have seen all sorts of things, and the stereotypical nurse walking through the corridor outside the room. They say they've seen nurses in other parts of the building as well, but they all attributed it to the nursery where the nurse supposedly hung herself up there. I'm sorry, I think that should say nurse, not nursery. I think that's a typo. I accidentally put nursery. Yeah, that's what that is. So they attributed to this nurse who supposedly hung herself up there. Now, mind you, this nurse was pregnant. So can you imagine? First of all, they're separated from society. They're not, they're off to themselves. And I don't know who she was pregnant by. Maybe someone on the grounds. People still play with spirits like that one girl who died 2 months ago. Absolutely. She looks like the Conjuring Nun. Yeah, she kind of does, right? So anyway, they said this woman was pregnant, and it was the fear of raising this child by herself. And also, can you imagine how depressing it must have been to be there at this place, this site, where all of these people were dying? Now, the room 502 is the place on the grounds with the most paranormal activity. And this is a picture of the nurse. Now, some people believe that at least 60,000 people died there at Waverly Hills. Though experts seem to think this is unlikely, some speculate that it's probably closer to 8,000. But researchers claim to have verified at least 11,000 people died there, and they suspect there is much more. So that all being said, that clearly sounds pretty scary if you ask me. Okay? That sounds very scary if you ask me. She looks evil. Yes, she did. Wasn't that a book or a movie or something relating to Waverly? I'm not sure. There may have been. I'm not sure. But I know this. Terry says, no thanks to Waverly Hills. Okay. Marilyn said, how did she get pregnant? Exactly. That's a good question. That's what I'm wondering. Now, did she get pregnant from someone on the premises? Like maybe a doctor or someone? Maybe one of the patients. Who knows? But she killed herself, and some people say that they believe that spirits there, nefarious spirits, led her to commit suicide by hanging. Because people said they would hear voices, they would see things moving around. And let me tell you something. Anytime there's a place that's full of death, these places are usually haunted. That's why hospitals are haunted. Many of them. Many hospitals are haunted because you have to realize many people die there. They transition. Some of those people are wicked and nefarious. Okay? So with that all being said, there absolutely could have been malevolent spirits or forces or whatever that led her to commit suicide. But people have, they believe spirit can get them pregnant. I don't know about that, baby doll. They can definitely attack you like the woman in the entity. Remember, she was being raped on a regular by this demonic spirit. It's on the Netflix, The Haunting of Waverly Place. Okay. Thank you, Kenla. I hadn't seen that. But I'll tell you this much. So these grounds look very spooky to this day. They look even more spooky than I imagined they did back then. And for all those people, can you imagine 11,000 people dying in one place? And they think there's more. Like I said, some people think there's between 50 to 60,000 people that actually died there. And remember, these people were there with tuberculosis when they didn't have a cure for it. So that could likely be true. Who knows? Funeral homes absolutely can be haunted. Yes, very scary hospitals open and abandoned. Yes, absolutely. Let me tell you something. There's another hospital. Well, this one was for mental people, Central States, right? And that one, I think it's in LaGrange, Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. But that one is pretty spooky too. At the end of the day, I wouldn't go anywhere near that place. And here's the thing. They actually have haunted guided tours on Halloween. I actually have haunted guided tours there. And they have a Halloween paranormal thing where they have like paranormal investigators come, and then they have like a ghost hunt and all these things. They have tours and people actually come there, to try to see if they can find out anything, spooky, or if they can capture a ghost on film and things like that. And they take these haunted ghost tours on Halloween. I find that very interesting because, Halloween is a place where there's a lot of paranormal activity. This is a day, or, when people engage in satanic worship and rituals and things like that. And then for those of you who know about the videos I've been telling you about the exorcisms, the priests, when they perform exorcisms, especially in the case of Annalise Michelle, the true story of Emily Rose, in her case, they actually performed her exorcism on Halloween. And they do this sometimes because they say that Halloween is when there's a lot of activity, from like these demonic beings and these ghostly apparitions and things like that. And so that's the best time to try to dispel them, some of them think. So that's the last time, if I was even going to go there, which I surely wouldn't. But if I were, Halloween would be the last day that I would choose to go there. Halloween night, can you imagine? And then these people saying that they've seen shadowy figures walking beside them. Numerous people in that room 502 where that nurse hung herself, numerous people have said that they've seen, a nurse hanging when they've gone in that room. Many of them say they've seen a nurse walking through the corridors, right? And here's the thing, when people die a tragic death, especially one where they take their own life, when people die a tragic death like that, it absolutely leaves behind such a negative energy. And a negative energy can manifest into reality, like they call it poltergeist, right? It's like something so, because everything is energy. So with like this negative energy, it literally can manifest into something that you can see, touch, and feel. Poltergeist is what they're called. So this is also crazy, honey. They don't have to worry about me coming there. That's what they don't have to worry about. We're glad that you stayed strong, Vince. I am. What did Vince just say? Let me go back. Savannah is the same way, Queen, but the haunted... Oh, my chat's moving. Hold on. But the haunted tours are year-round. Really, King Daniel? I want to go to Savannah. One of the main reasons I want to go there is I want to see some of the historic sites, but I also want to stay at that wedding cake mansion. Isn't that what they call it? The wedding cake mansion? Yeah, I want to stay there. Poltergeists are real. Absolutely. The married doctor was the father and he lied. I believe them. Too many spirits trapped there. Yes, we are energy queen. Absolutely, Ren. Absolutely. Queen, I am much better and stronger than ever, as I now realize there was a lesson I had to learn during the dark days, and I am grateful as it's made me stronger than ever. I am so glad to hear that, Vince. I am. I am so glad to hear that, beloved. Judah Queen says she likes historic sites. I do too, but I don't know about ghostly ones. Because like I told you, those things can follow you home. These malevolent spirits, they can follow you home. They call them hitchhiker spirits. All right? They can attach themselves to you. So you have to be careful of those things. Whew. What should be done with abandoned hospitals? What should be done with abandoned hospitals? Let me tell you something. I would say tear them down, but people aren't going to do that because, you know, they generate revenue from these things by having these haunted tours and all these things like that. And there are some people that are quite frankly intrigued by haunted places. Some people are clearly intrigued by these things. So, you know, cemeteries. Yes, absolutely. Melanated Brown says, I'm going to check this out on Netflix. I am absolutely also. Now, where is Desmond? Because I don't see Desmond in here. Desmond's the one that wanted me to talk about this because Desmond lives in Louisville, Kentucky. And this sanatorium was not far from the high school that I graduated from in Kentucky. It's not far from the high school. There he is. You won't find my black ace there. Oh, Desmond, cut it out. So anyway, that concludes this broadcast. I see you now, Desmond. I see you. So yeah, so that concludes this broadcast. I want to tell you all about that. Desmond wanted me to talk about it because he actually lives in Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm from Louisville. Well, not from. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky and went to school there. And so yeah, that's always been an interesting place because I remember all the stories I heard growing up about it. White folks always searching for lingering souls. The Grudge movie was scary, but the Japanese version was much scarier. Ju on for people that want to see a scary movie. Okay. Yeah, I try not to watch scary movies. I try not to watch it. Queen is voodoo. It's a voodoo village here. Many people go to on Halloween, but I've never been. Hold on, let me see this. But I've never been. I don't go out on Halloween, says Cutie Tootie. Cutie Tootie, where do you live? New Orleans, by any chance? Do you live in New Orleans? I personally, oh, you're welcome, Vince, beloved. You're welcome. I personally don't think that voodoo is wicked or evil. I think that it's the people who, you know, use it for nefarious things. I think you can use it for something good or something bad. And there's some people who use it to do witchcraft or black, dark magic, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, I think it's the person. Facts, the Japanese version of The Grudge is scarier and better. Well, Brother Sly, I never saw it. I never saw it, but I do remember The Grudge. That was scary. So if the Japanese version is even scarier, I can only imagine. Okay. Memphis, Tennessee. Okay. Okay, Cutie Tootie. Thank you, beloved. Yeah, I never knew about that. And Seven Scale says that's true. My uncle was in quite a few mental institutions in Georgia. I visited a lot of them. He died last month in a mental facility. Really? I'm sorry to hear that, beloved. You know about the Stale Mill in Birmingham, Alabama? It's haunted. The Steel Mill or Stale Mill? I don't, Cherokee Descendant King, but I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write that down so I can do some research on that. The Grudge, scary as hell with that sound. I watched that at my grandparents when I was a child. Yeah, that's clearly crazy, right? Many people are scared of the Grudge movie, like myself. Wait a minute. Now, let me make sure I'm getting this movie right. So The Grudge, for some reason, I get that confused with The Ring. Was The Grudge about this girl who was like haunting people or something like that? It's been so long ago since I saw that. That's true about Birmingham, Alabama. I'm from there. Okay. It's a place in Tennessee they had many deaths from being a club to a restaurant. Really? Okay. A black cat with a boy. So I want to thank you all for tuning back in once again to Queen Amadai TV Presents Beyond the Realm. I'm going to conclude this broadcast. I want to remind you guys to make sure that you tune back in at 6 p.m. for your daily vitamins, okay? Going to be having 3 doses today. So make sure that you tune in. They were trying to make me do security there. Mark says, Queen, you're the best. Thank you, beloved. Thank you. So that all being said, you all enjoy the rest of this lovely day. Stay high vibrational. And listen, don't forget to tune in at 6 p.m. Okay? Don't let YouTube fool you putting up those fake times and everything. Make sure you tune in at 6. You don't want to miss a thing. All right? So until next time, Royals, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Pause, people. Pause. Pause. I forgot to show you the video clip. Hold on. I'm just doing too much. Okay? Hold on. Let me share my screen so I can show you all this news report on it before I go. I'm glad I remembered that. Hold on. We're going to share this. And everyone, please like and share the video. Okay? Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Here we go.
Used to house tuberculosis patients in the 1900s. The legend has it, now the building houses paranormal activity. Rose McBride speaks with some brave souls who spent the night at the Sanatorium for the first overnight tour of the year.
Interesting sights.
It was weird, but it was good weird.
Sounds.
Like a lady speaking or a guy speaking, which is kind of odd.
And activity were on display for people touring the Waverly Hills Sanatorium Sunday morning.
Waverly was one of the places that we've always wanted to go in the past several years.
Terrence Crow came with a group from Evansville, Indiana, to do the 6-hour overnight experience. He wanted to test out some of his equipment to track the paranormal.
We had an EMF detector, detects magnetic field and stuff, EVP recorder, and then our spirit box.
Crow says the spirit box was very active, letting the group communicate with the unknown.
We would ask a question and we would get a direct response.
Waverly Hills Historical Society President David Price estimates thousands of people have died in the building, which was a tuberculosis sanatorium until the 1960s.
It was the state-of-the-art facility in this area.
So could those patients be haunting the building? Well, people who lived there when it was a hospital have some ideas.
There's not many left, but the ones that we've talked to have said it was haunted then too.
The Historical Society is working to restore the building, using these tours to fundraise and introduce people to the rich history on display through both the seen and unseen.
Something we always wanted to do. It's a small adventure.
In Louisville, Rose McBride, WHAS 11 News.
Those people are clearly crazy, okay? I'm in New Orleans a lot, and I've encountered a couple of spirits. Really? Can you do a story on Lake Lanier in Georgia? Yes, Millie. Yes, absolutely. I meant to do that already. Because that Lake Lanier is absolutely haunted, honey. I have been there, okay? I have been there. So, yes, that's absolutely a haunted place. And I will be doing a story on that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I meant to do that a couple of weeks ago. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a story on that. Why would demons fear demons? Robert, don't you come in my chat with this mess. Why would demons fear demons? Marilyn says that's one activity I would not engage in. They are tripping. Let me tell you all something. That's no place that I want to go. The nurse was sick with TB and pregnant. She left letters. Okay, can you do a story of 13 ghosts? Yes, Marcus. Let me write that down. 13 ghosts. I'm writing down y'all's requests. If y'all have some ghostly stories that y'all want the queen to talk about, I'm taking your request. My bestie has a spirit of a young man who follows her wherever she goes. She named him Corey. Say what now? She named him Corey. And she's perfectly fine with him following her about everywhere she goes. Let me tell y'all something crazy. Speaking of that, Kendall says, I live in New Orleans. Okay. Let me tell y'all something. Baby doll said, white people think they can do anything. I like 13 Ghosts. I was in middle school when it came out. Okay, beloved. Listen. Y'all are clearly crazy. But listen, speaking of your friend having a spirit that follows her around and she named it and all of that, there was a friend that I had. She told me, I'm not gonna say she was a friend, more like a co-worker, associate, whatever. But she actually told me that there was a spirit of some little girl that followed her or that lived in her house. And she said people would come there and they would see stuff moving, or they would see like a, something from the side eye or whatever. And then they would tell her about it. And she said, oh, that's just Amy or Amanda, whatever the spirit's name was. And so she'll be like, oh, she's not going to bother you. And she said those people would leave and they would never come back. And I don't blame them. And she's like, oh, no, she's a good spirit and this, that, and the third. Let me tell you something, honey. Maybe she was a good spirit. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I don't want anything that's not of this world following me around. Okay? I'm just saying, unless it's the ancestors. But other than that, no, I don't think so. That's that Hollywood stuff. Each person gets a spirit when you go get in the Hollywood game. Is that what that is, baby doll? Let's go there to visit for an experience and stay the night. General Lovateur, say who? Say what now? Let's go there to visit for an experience and stay the night. I don't think so. I'll drop y'all off if y'all want to. And then listen, I'll drop y'all off and I'll stay at the hotel down the street and y'all let me know when you want me to pick you up. I'm sure it will be within an hour of me dropping you off. General Lovateur said us together. Cut it out. Oh, you are so crazy. Cherokee to Cherokee says, I will do it. Terry says, Casper the friendly ghost. No, you mean Casper the unfriendly ghost. Oh, you all are too much. Seven's laughing. Oh, my goodness. The best show ever, Queen. Black people in paranormal. Thank you, Ren. Baby doll says Nicki Minaj / Roman. Oh, my goodness. You all are a mess, okay? I want y'all to pay attention. Speaking of Nicki Minaj and Roman, y'all know who she got that name after. Roman Polanski, the man who wrote the movie and produced the movie Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, okay? The one that fled the United States because he was accused of child molestation. Howard says, I'm scared. Oh, my goodness. You all are too much. I think Waverly Hills is where local race soldiers used to meet. Look at where it's located. Robert. Yes, Robert is from Louisville, Kentucky. So you know what, Robert? You're probably right. Okay? Like my great-grandmother would say, that's something you got to do by yourself, says Esther. Okay? Oh, anyway, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. You all are too much fun, okay? For your own good. Now, everyone, enjoy the rest of the day. And don't forget to tune back in at 6 p.m. for your daily vitamins, okay? So, we're going to be doing some more scary stories tomorrow. Because it's Friday, right? We're going to be doing some more scary stories tomorrow. And they're going to be at nights, okay? They're going to be at night, so it's going to get real spooky, people. It's going to get real spooky. So you all enjoy the rest of this day. And until next time, Royal Family, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.